Hey everybody, Jack Painting here with the next part in our Black Legion tutorial. Today we're going to take this guy up to a tournament quality, and I should preface this video in that this guy, he's like a line trooper, he's a single chaos space marine, and we're not going to be doing anything too fancy or too crazy with this guy. We just want all of our line troops to look really nice, solid paint jobs, but we're not going to be doing a character workup on this guy. So everything's going to be pretty simple because this video series is meant to get everything out on the table really quickly, looking good, something you can be proud of, bring into a tournament with your army looking good, and then you can spend more time on your elites and your characters and things like that. And the first thing that we did was highlight up his brassy armor trim, pulled out some scale 75 Victorian brass, and we're just going over the details, bringing a shine back to the edges, things like that, filling in some of those empty areas to get that trim looking nice and shiny brass colored. I like the brass for Chaos and a more gold color for Imperium. It kind of sets them apart tonally on a visual scale because the gold trim is a different shade, and I think it looks a little bit better. Next, we're going to pull out some somber gray from Vallejo Game Color, and we're going to do some very simple, clean edge highlights. I use a technique that I refer to as half-ass dry brushing. You've probably heard me talk about it in my other videos or on my live Twitch stream, where I take a detail brush, nice skinny detail brush, and load it with paint and then get almost all that paint off of there so that I can gently scrape it along the sides of these edges, and it's putting semi-dry pigment on those edges so it leaves a really nice clean line and you don't have to worry about getting a splotchy edge highlight. So practice this on some of your upcoming projects. Just kind of think of it like a dry brush. Don't like destroy your brush trying to get all that paint off of there, but gently wipe away most of the paint off of that brush and then very gently scrape it along the edges using the side of that brush to get some clean edge highlights. After that, we're going to get out some coal black. This is an optional step. Sometimes when you apply a wash to models with lots of metallics on them, the details can be kind of shallow, and that wash doesn't sit in there with enough concentration to have a nice dark line in those metallic details. So I'm just pulling out some coal black with our little detail brush, and I'm putting some light, thinned out black lines inside of some of those metallic details just to get a little bit more contrast to make sure that those details pop out on the table from arm's length away. Next, I'm going to pull out some light umber from Pro Acryl. This is kind of a medium to light brown color, and we're just going to do some simple clean edge highlights on the leather pieces on the model. He's got this big bolt pistol and a holster, so we're just going to get those edges on the holster, get some of the top and bottom edges on the belts that he's wearing around his waist, just to pick out that detail a little bit so that it looks nice. And again, you can see it from arm's length away. In the next video, when we take this guy up to a little bit of a higher level, we're going to work some more on the leather, giving it more character with some textures and weathering. And we're going to be doing weathering on the whole model to get him looking like an aged Chaos Legionnaire. On this step, I'm pulling out some model color buff, and we're going to highlight that kind of dirty cloth bandagey stuff that he's got wrapped around his holster there. Just getting the edges, just doing some clean lines on those edges to help pick out the detail. Again, when we bring this guy up to a level above this, we'll be spending more time on these bandages to make them look a little bit nicer, but we're just going for a clean tournament level paint job. Going to tick those boxes on the tournament paint rubric so that your guys look better than tabletop and you can be proud to have them on the table. We're going to work on his cloth now with some Wild Rider red. Just going to pick out some of those edge details. He's got like some holes and folds and stuff like that on the cloth. We're going to pick those out with some clean highlights. And then down near the bottom, I'm just going to do some little rapid fire scratchy lines just to kind of help it look a little bit more tattered and frayed at the edge of that cloth. You know, just take your time. It's a bunch of little hash marks parallel to each other going down to the end of that cloth. It just makes it look a little bit more worn out, and I like that look. And for the little pop detail, the little kind of flare detail that we're going to do on this guy, he's got this depressed, in-cut, I forget the word, it's a Chaos Star in his shoulder pad. And we're just going to fill that in with some flat green, just taking our time, letting the detail guide our brush, very light-handed. We're just going to base out the inside of that detail with this flat green. And then get some lighter colors to bring it up so it looks like a glowy Chaos rune that's been etched into his armor. Next, we're going to pull out some Necrotite green. You can replace this with any really bright yellow green color. Scorpion green works really well, as well as Moot green if you're Citadel. And we're going to thin that out very thin and just use the tip of our brush to let that Necrotite green kind of flow into that etched in detail, almost like a wash, but this paint's going to be more concentrated than a wash. We're just using that detail to let that really, really bright yellow green kind of flow in there and highlight the flat green and start building up that kind of glowy green chaos energy that's coming out of this rune. To kind of clean that up, I'm getting out some bright ivory, and we're going to go around the edges of this detail and just do a bunch of clean little edge highlights around the cut in detail so that those lines and curves and a little spike details that are in that Chaos Star are picked out really nice and clean, and it really pops it out of the armor. Just take your time. Like, this is not really freehanding, you're just kind of tracing it. So think about tracing some color in a coloring book. That's kind of what we're doing in this step. And last, I'm going to get out some golden yellow. Again, you don't have to have this color, just a really, really bright yellow. Flash Gitz yellow works great for this too. And very carefully, I'm just going to pull some lines inside of that detail where there are intersections. So think of a Chaos Star as a circle with a bunch of little intersecting lines. And so I'm going to do a line inside of the spike and a little line where the curve is to create some little cross marks in there. And that creates a glowy pop right in the middle of that detail. And now we have a Chaos Legionnaire to a nice clean tournament quality. All your troops are looking good. So catch us next time for the kind of masterclass video.